All right. I would like you to stay with me as long as you possibly can today. This is a really important show, and if you miss any of it, please go get the podcast after the broadcast. You need to hear this, and I want you to feel the full weight of all of the topics that I'm going to discuss today. Christopher Rufo just ripped the lid off of something so vile, so utterly perverse, that it made my skin crawl last night. Let me start here. What 5 things did you work on last week at work? Could you tell your boss? Because I could. I could tell, more than 5 things pretty quickly. What did you work on last week? How hard would it be to write out in bullet points, not a dissertation, in bullet points, what you worked on? Now let me ask you, how hard would it be if you weren't really working? Or if you were wasting your time in private chat rooms using the most secure servers and channels to discuss your perversions? That'd be pretty tough. Well, I discussed my perversions online. That's probably not a bullet point that'll go over well. Listen to what Christopher Rufo exposed. Our spies at the NSA, the CIA, the DIA, the people we trust and pay to be sources of quality information and to protect us. We now know they have been on systems that we pay for, talking about, and I'm quoting, castrating themselves, building fake vaginas, and their sick little fetishes. Excuse the language, but piss fetishes, gangbangs, laser zapping, quoting their buttholes. And by the way, this is not some basement chat room that they're on. This is IntelliLink. This is our secure government network. This is what our spies use to talk to one another to make sure we have privacy and we don't have anybody hacking in. So I guess the upside is, I guess none of these people could be blackmailed by China or anything else, because hopefully China hasn't hacked into IntelliLink. And they're doing it at work during the day. While you're breaking your back every day to earn a living and pay taxes, how hard do you work? Can you list 5 things you did last week? How many hours did you grind out just to see your tax dollars funneled to Washington in this cesspool? So you know, these are not random clowns. These are not just a handful of perverts. They're spies. They're supposed to be watching our enemies, not drooling over their own mental illness, and that's what it is. Make no mistake about it. It is mental illness, plain and simple, and we have got to start calling that now. No more sugarcoating, no more excuses. They are typing sick mental illness garbage on our dime, on our clock, hundreds of times while claiming it's diversity work. Is it? The NSA called it critical diversity work. Oh, critical to what exactly? Our collapse? Do you think any of this stops on its own, gang? Do you think any of this is just like, oh, you know what? We shouldn't have done that. Do you think it stops on its own? It won't, unless we scream from every corner of our country. The left, the right, it doesn't matter. This kind of activity, this perversion on our dime, if it's not crushed, we're done. We're lost. We're finished. We have handed our intelligence agencies over to a bunch of degenerates who can't keep their minds out of the gutter long enough to do their damn job. By the way, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, gang. I'm going to bring it up. History has echoes of this. He's not going to say Nazis. He says, yes, I'm going to say the Nazis. They didn't just kill and conquer. Their ranks were rotten with corruption and depravity. SS officers hoarded looted wealth. The high-ups like Goering lived in obscene luxury, wearing women's clothing at night while preaching purity. Some, like Ernest Röhm, who was the head of the stormtroopers, the SA, they were steeped in personal scandals. His SA was a hotbed of homosexuality, cross-dressing, perverse behavior until Hitler purged it. But he didn't do it for morality reasons. He did it for power. And then he said these people were perverse and sick and they were plotting against our country. And so he killed them all for power, not morality. That society ended in rubble, burned out by its own excesses as much as Allied bombing. Take Rome, the late republic. Senators were drowning in orgies and graft while the state crumbled. It fell apart, overrun by enemies that it couldn't face anymore. When your guardians turn inward, they are obsessed with their own filth. The walls will not hold. And that's us right now. We are standing, gazing into the abyss. You know, when we voted for Donald Trump, we thought we knew how bad it was. When we lost in 2020, we thought we knew how bad it was. And then more was revealed to us by their own actions, right? They started teaching this crap, this mental illness to our children. And that's what started to wake us up. And then we started seeing everything. And they just kept dogpiling more and more and more. And then, by the time we got to this election, a lot of Americans who weren't necessarily for Trump voted for Trump because they're like, okay, this is really bad. But now that we're actually in it, now that we're actually exposing and just beginning to peel the carpet back, oh my gosh, we are seeing the infection and the bugs and the cockroaches that I didn't think we would find. Our spies are too busy playing sick games of, I'm now a female, I'm now a male, and I just love urinating out of my new vagina. That's what's actually happening online, on our secure servers, on your time. Let me just give you the historic context here. These are just the facts. Nazi Germany, beyond ideology, corruption, perverse indulgence. That's what that regime was all about. Leaders exploited slave labor profits and then engaged in documented debauchery. What was the outcome? Total collapse, 1945. Moral and physical ruin. The Roman Empire. Elite corruption, sexual excess, bribery, weakened governance, teaching men that they should be more like women. Outcome? Destruction. Transition to an empire, then eventually they fall to the barbarians. Weimar Germany. They weren't Nazis. Pre-Nazi decadence in Berlin, cabarets, vice, drugs. It all fueled the instability. Outcome? Nazi takeover, then destruction. Now, no parallel exists in history that exactly lines up because we didn't have online systems where the government spies could be chatting about their fetishes. But the pattern, internal rot, undermining duty, undermining honor, undermining our country, always ends in societal collapse. This isn't new. This is just our turn to face it. I'm going to give you a few things today, and this is just one, the depravity. And if you and your friends aren't sickened by this, I question you. I do. If you can't admit that this is a mental illness, I question you. We live in a world of shame, no longer a world of guilt. That's a very important distinction. We live in a world of shame. Our country is all about shame. Whatever the collective says, shame, well, you're done. It doesn't rely on personal guilt. It doesn't have anything to do with the individual going, geez, I shouldn't be doing this. That's not what we do anymore. We're more like those who say, round up the witches. Look at what they're doing at night in the woods. They're witches. Shame. Tie them to a stake and burn them. Those societies always collapse. Always. Because they always go into craziness. And then they go into totalitarianism. We're no longer, our country was built on the fact that we were people that understood guilt, not shame. Guilt. Personal guilt. You've done something and it bothers you and you can't sleep at night and you're like, this isn't right. Do you think these people in Washington have that at all going for them? Do you think any of them? Orrin Hatch told me one time, I have never met a man, and boy, this is something coming from him. This was something. I've never met a man who went to Washington and left a better man than what he was when he arrived. That should tell you something. Why is that? It's an absolute cesspool. And it's being done with your money. Now, I have a comment on the lack of transparency. I'm not going to, you can hold me to what I said would happen on Kash Patel's first day. You can hold me to that. But I'm not holding him to my standard. I still believe these things are going to come out. And they better. And they better. And I have a comment on this because I think it goes right into the depravity I was just talking to you about. And it must stop. 60 seconds away. First, travel season is coming up. Spring break is right around the corner, and the summer's not too far away after that. If you're going to places with your family on vacation, may I recommend you take the Jace Go with you. It's from the makers of the Jace case, and it's a compact, reliable case filled with all the emergency travel medications designed to keep you on track no matter where you go. If you're traveling, and you have what my grandmother used to call the quick steps, you got something for it. You get food poisoning, you got something for it. You have everything you need already, and you don't have to search around for a doctor or for a CVS store that you don't know where they are in the middle of the night. These kinds of things happen to the best of us, and you might as well be prepared for them. I wonder if maybe we could talk to Jason. They can get a sexually transmitted disease kit in case you find yourself employed or visiting Washington, D.C. This is not just about the convenience. It's about peace of mind. Whether the issue is distance or availability, whether you're traveling in this country or a foreign one, Jace Go will ensure that you are covered. Please, this year, travel smarter and stay prepared. Jace.com. Enter the promo code Beck. Make sure you have the right meds on hand the moment you need them. That's Jace, Jase.com. Promo code Beck. 10 seconds. Station ID. Okay, so there is a story, I think it's in Newsweek today. Who even knew that was still available? But they were bringing up today in Newsweek that hundreds of pages of court documents which name people with the Epstein scandal have been unsealed. Many people are not accused of any wrongdoing, and those names are already public. But on the campaign trail, President Trump suggested he was open to releasing the Epstein client list. And from what we know, there's some real names on that list. At CPAC, Bondi was asked by conservative commentator Benny Johnson about when the list would be released. She said, soon. She had been briefed on it, was not able to talk about it publicly, but added that Trump's directive was going to be followed. Shortly after this, conservatives and Trump supporters cheered Bondi's comments. Today, there are people in the Senate and the House saying, when is that coming out? Why hasn't that come out yet? There's a list of people now in Congress and the Senate, and that is good news, that are demanding that it is out. Here's what this really boils down to. Like Elon Musk, I could boil it down not to 5 bullet points. I just want one. I just want an answer to one question. That's it. And it is imperative that we all ask this one question of our government and demand the evidence. Here it is. Do you have in your possession, does your agency have in possession, or have you seen evidence of images or videos of publicly known people having sex or being in compromising positions with children? Now, I can't believe we have to ask that, but apparently we do. Does anyone in this government have any evidence at all of anyone that is a known figure, especially those in government or positions of power, that show them in compromising positions with children or those underage? Yes or no? It's not that hard. Yes or no? And if you have them, release them. How is this country not outraged by what is going on with our children? How is it we're not all standing up and saying, I want to know. I demand justice. I want to know Epstein. I want to know Diddy. Why are these people still influencing us? Why are the people that went to those parties or that island or that plane still influencing us and allowed to be walking around? Well, I tell you why. Because our intelligence agencies are so perverted and so mentally ill that they probably don't have a problem with it. Just look at what they were saying to each other on the country's secure network for intel. Look what they were saying to one another when they were at work, taking your tax dollars. All right. I'm going to shift gears, but I don't know if your mood's going to improve much, because I want to delve a little deeper into, hey, can you give me 5 bullet points? Just 5 bullet points. What did you do last week? I'd like to get into that in a minute. 888-727-BECK. Man, I was up all night. My heart was pounding because there are so many stories today that I need to get to, and we're going to, and I'm going to add an hour because I'm not going to get to the Russian talk today, which is really important. Colony Ridge, which is really important on immigration, and Baby Sparrow. That case goes to court today. We're hoping that there will be an update by the end of the day. We're hoping, but we'll see. And so I'm going to add an hour to the show. We'll put it on X and probably most likely the Blaze as well. But you've got to be a subscriber to Blaze TV. Become a subscriber to Blaze TV. And I want to hear your comments. We're going to go to the comment section here in just a second. If you are a Blaze TV subscriber and you're watching right now, please comment as we scan for your opinion on what's going on.
Don't put any of that weird stuff in the chat room.
Yeah, please don't.
It's nice and clean, everybody.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah. What's happening right now with the theft of our time, our treasure, and our trust. Cut so deep to the marrow of everything that we've been taught to trust that I think we were saved by God, but unless every person in America starts to recognize sanity, not common sense, sanity, and we don't demand Congress and the government to clean this mess up now, we don't survive this. We've just maybe postponed our death for a couple of years. Let me tell you about a piece I read last night from Elizabeth Nickson. It's Give Us Back Our Effing Money, How Washington Stole Everything. She published it on her Substack. It's a howl of rage. It's a spotlight on the festering wound of government overreach. And I want to unpack it and add some commentary to it. Just one human being to another, not talking about politics, just human to human, American to American, because we cannot continue to pretend this stuff isn't happening. Maybe half the country, is seething. Their anger is a quiet fire that has been stoked by decades of theft, not just our money, but of our dreams, our kids' futures, the very idea of liberty. And yet, the politicians, mostly Democrats, sure, let's not kid ourselves, the rhinos, the Republicans, we always suspected that they were in on it. They're all shrieking like banshees right now, clutching their pearls. Oh, my gosh, we're the victims here. No, you're not. Meanwhile, DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, is stepping in with a simple request. And last night, they had to extend this deadline because it was just too hard and controversial for people to do. Tell us 5 things you worked on last week. Tell us 5 things. Now, that's a demand for accountability that should have universal approval. I mean, I think we should all be like, yeah. Instead, it was met with defiance, calls from the unions, the bureaucrats, who think their $144,000 a year jobs with benefits, things that we would all kill for, means they don't have to answer to anybody. Not you, not the president or his appointed representative. No. They don't answer to you. They don't answer to him. And I am sick of it. What will it take for all of us to wake up to the common sense truth? This government, as it has been run, isn't here for you. It's not here for your children. It's not here for the freedom of mankind. It's a machine. And we, its citizens, are the fuel it's burning. I want you to picture this in your head for just a second. Just take a breath and picture your paycheck. It lands into your account. And before you can even breathe, a chunk of it is gone, siphoned off to fund a system that doesn't give a damn about you. Now, we always suspected, but we know now what's happening with our money. Nickson lays it bare. She says the elderly on Social Security should have 5 times what they're getting, scraping by on a pittance while the bureaucrats live fat. Those waiting for health care, maybe your kid can't even dream of going to college. Maybe you're facing cancer from a vaccine that you had to take. Those are the casualties of this grand heist. DOGE's initial findings. She points out the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid wasted $100 billion last year alone. That was uncovered in a single day's glance. Billion here, billion there. What's $1 billion between friends? I don't know. $1 billion. The $2 billion the EPA handed to Stacey Abrams-linked group that raised a measly $100 in donations. Then the government, the EPA, steps in and gives her $2 billion? What was that money for? Paid protesters? Climate hysterics? who glue themselves to sidewalks, scaring kids in our school with climate doomsday fairy tales. This is not incompetence. It's calculated theft. It's a looting of the public purse so blatant, it has to be, you have to admire it. And who's paying? You are. You are. I am. Every taxpayer that is watching their life's work vanish in the maw of a beast that doesn't even blink. It doesn't stop to take a breath. It just keeps consuming. Let me put it this way. Since the beginning of the year, you are still working just to pay your taxes. You haven't made a dime yet. You will work 113 days, a third of the year, a third of your life, just to pay taxes. And what are you getting out of it? You won't finish working to pay your taxes for these government programs and government workers with their $144,000 salaries until 5 days after April 15th. When is enough enough? My patriotic duty? My patriotic duty to fund this crap? No. Now let's talk about the politicians. The Democrats built this machine, decades of bloated programs, identity politics, green agendas that choke the life out of us. But the rhinos, the Republicans, they're the grease in the gears. They were the ones we always knew were part of the problem, nodding along while they were pocketing their share, I'm sure. So when Doge comes knocking for basic accountability, how dare you question us? Really? You really believe your cushy salaries and your lifetime pension, something that we don't get, that's a divine right? Again, the government salary, the average government salary is $144,000 with benefits that makes your eyes water. Healthcare, retirement, paid leave. Well, you're lucky. Do you even have a 401k? Do you get a match of your 401k? And yet when the president or someone like Elon Musk tap to clean this mess up, just says, what'd you do last week? They don't even bother to respond. And it's so bad that the president can't fire any of them. It's a fireable offense, it was said over the weekend, if you don't answer these by midnight Monday. Well, let's extend because maybe some of them are slow. That's not arrogance. That is a middle finger to every taxpayer, no matter who you vote for. It's a middle finger to the Constitution itself. Article 2, Section 1 gives all of the power. It vests the executive power in the president. He's their boss, not their buddy. He's their boss. Ethically, constitutionally, they're bound to serve the public, not their own egos. But they've forgotten that, if they ever knew it. What's it going to take for us to see this clearly? And when I say us, I don't mean the probably 50 to 70% of Americans. Doge is getting like 70% ratings. People are for this. But what is it going to get? What is it going to take to get 70% of us to all stand up and say enough is enough? Imagine your house. The locks don't work. And every night somebody slips in and takes a little more. Your savings, your kids' toys, the food from your fridge. You would bolt the doors, set a trap, and fight back. But this government, it's the thief that owns the deed. And they're telling you it's for your own good. Nixon is right on this. This anger is soul deep, and it's not going to go away. In fact, it's the kind of anger that will spark at least a tax revolt. A national strike. God forbid a real revolution in America. Not the fake stage ones that they've peddled overseas and in our own country with your tax dollars without your permission. Half the country feels it. This betrayal has been brewing since the New Deal turned into the Raw Deal, since the Great Society became a great scam. And the other half, I don't know. Are they deaf? Are they lulled by the promises of safety nets that are really nooses? Are they caught up in their own mental illness of depravity and their religion, where it's their God is the planet or the government and Satan is Trump? I don't know. But I'm talking to you now. You can't be one of them. You're not stupid. Maybe you're just tired. Maybe you're just scared. And so you're in that category. But hear me out. This isn't about left or right. This isn't about even right or wrong. This isn't about Trump. This isn't about me. This isn't about the Democrats or the Republicans, who we vote for, who we're pissed at. This is about our children. This is about their future. When we pay our taxes every year and work a third of our life and have that tax taken at the threat of a gun or jail, we don't even cover the cost for all of these things. We can't even cover the cost of the interest payments. Our children will be paying for these things for the rest of their lives. They'll either become slaves to the debt or those most likely who hold the debt. Ethically, this is indefensible. The government's job, its only job, if you read the Constitution, is to secure your rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not to pick your pocket and call it charity. The 10th Amendment powers, and he says, the 10th Amendment says any power not delegated to the feds belong to the states or the people. Wherein it doesn't say they can waste $100 billion on Medicare fraud or funnel billions to climate grifters. It doesn't say that. They have overstepped. They have violated our social contract, the one where we consent to be governed, not robbed. We consent to be governed. Intellectually, this whole thing is a farce. Nickson points to the media. 90% of Ukraine's press funded by U.S. taxpayers. Same here. Government grants prop up failing outlets, turning them into propaganda mills. You can't trust what you read because it's not the truth. It's propaganda. For them in the media, it's a paycheck. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission gets climate grants. Why? Why? Tell you why. To scare investors into green schemes that do nothing but enrich the connected. It's a Ponzi scheme, just with better branding. I want to zoom in on Doge for just a second if I have time. Musk wants to cut the fat. First move, asking for 5 things you worked on last week. So simple, it's brilliant. Litmus test. If you can't answer that, you're dead weight. Universal approval should be a no-brainer. Transparency, efficiency, accountability. Who is arguing against that? Oh, that's right. Those who don't want to be accountable. Those who think their job is a sovereign right, not a service. Constitutionally, it's ironclad. The president runs the executive branch. These agencies answer to him. Ethically, a slam dunk. You're spending my money. Show me what you're doing. But the silence is deafening. I think it's a confession of guilt from people who have gotten away with murder figuratively, maybe actually literally as well. But I'm tired of it, and I think you are too. Back in just a minute. I have a lot to say today. Dan Crenshaw, you're on my mind as well today. We'll talk about that, but we're going to take a quick break, talk to Riley Moore, who is now in Congress, to talk about what he's doing on tariffs to try to support the president, and Congressman Aaron Bean, who is going to debunk the misconceptions about Doge. He is on the committee that oversees Doge. So we're going to ask him what's real, what's not.
This is Glenn Beck.